Have you ever watched one of those videos where a humanoid robot walks so naturally that your first thought is, this has to be fake? Maybe you've seen one scrolling through TikTok. Maybe it popped up on Instagram, or maybe someone shared it on X with thousands of people arguing in the comments. Some people say it's CGI, others say it's AI generated. And then there are those who believe it's nothing more than a marketing stunt. But what if I told you those videos are actually real? Not only are they real, they're coming out of China. And that's exactly why millions of people still refuse to believe what they're seeing. Because these aren't the clumsy humanoid robots most of us remember from just a few years ago. These robots walk with confidence. They recover their balance after being pushed. They use both hands with surprising precision. Some can carry boxes. Some can climb stairs. Some can even work alongside humans inside real factories. And every time another video appears online, the internet reacts the same way. There's no way that's real. This has to be CGI. A made this video. It's almost funny when you think about it. Humanity spent decades trying to build robots that looked like humans. Now that they're finally starting to exist, nobody believes they're real. But here's the crazy part. The videos aren't becoming more realistic because they're using better special effects. They're becoming more realistic because the robots themselves are improving at an unbelievable pace. And much of that progress is happening inside China. Now you might be wondering, how did China suddenly become the country producing humanoid robots that look almost human? Because if we rewind just a few years, that wasn't the story anyone was telling. Whenever people talked about the future of robotics, they talked about Boston Dynamics. They talked about Tesla's Optimus. They talked about Silicon Valley. China was rarely the first country that came to mind. So what changed? Did China suddenly invent a breakthrough that nobody else saw coming? Or has the world simply not been paying attention? The answer is much more surprising than most people realize. Because while millions of people were busy debating whether these robot videos were fake, Chinese robotics companies weren't trying to win arguments on the internet. They were busy building the next generation of humanoid robots. One company in particular has captured attention across the robotics industry, UBTECH. The company recently introduced what it calls its ULTRA-BIONIC humanoid robots. And before you assume that's just another flashy marketing name, wait until you see what these machines are actually capable of. Because this isn't just another robot that can wave at a camera for 30 seconds. This is part of a much bigger shift. A shift that's making experts rethink how close we really are to seeing humanoid robots become part of everyday life. And here's something almost nobody is talking about. The reason these robots look so convincing isn't just artificial intelligence. It's something much deeper. Something that makes the human brain hesitate for just a split second. When you watch one of these robots walk, your brain knows it's supposed to be a machine, but your eyes keep telling you it's moving like a person. That tiny conflict is exactly why millions of people instantly assume the videos are fake. But they're not. And once you understand what engineers have changed inside these new humanoid robots, you'll never look at those viral videos the same way again. Because the next time one appears on your screen, the real question won't be, is this fake? It'll be, how did robots become this human this quickly? And that's where this story really begins. So, what exactly are people looking at when they see these videos? Is it just clever editing? Is it artificial intelligence generating fake footage? Or have humanoid robots really reached a point where they can move almost like us? Believe it or not, the answer is much closer to the last one. Because what you're seeing isn't magic. It's years of engineering finally starting to pay off. Think back to the humanoid robots from 10 years ago. They walked slowly. Their movements looked stiff. Every step felt carefully programmed. And if someone lightly pushed them, there was a good chance they'd end up on the floor. That's why people became used to thinking of humanoid robots as expensive science experiments. Interesting to watch, but nowhere near ready for the real world. Now compare that to what companies like UBTECH are showing today. The difference is almost unbelievable. These robots don't simply walk. They shift their weight just like humans do. They adjust their balance in real time. If the ground changes beneath them, they don't immediately lose control. They constantly calculate where every part of their body should move next. And they do all of that in fractions of a second. That's one of the biggest reasons they look so natural. Your brain isn't just watching a machine. It's watching movement that follows many of the same principles as human movement. And that's exactly why so many people think the videos are computer-generated. But here's where things become even more fascinating. Walking is actually one of the easiest parts. The real challenge is using hands. Think about how many times you've picked something up today. A coffee cup, your phone, a keyboard. You didn't even think about it. Your brain automatically calculated the weight, the shape, the pressure your fingers needed, and how tightly to hold it. Humans perform thousands of tiny calculations every single day without even noticing. Now imagine teaching a robot to do the same thing. Suddenly, picking up a cardboard box isn't simple anymore. Opening a door isn't simple. Using a screwdriver isn't simple. Even placing one object on top of another becomes incredibly difficult. That's why companies like UBTECH are putting so much effort into making robot hands behave more like human hands. Because a humanoid robot isn't useful if it can only walk. It needs to work. And that's exactly where these new robots are beginning to surprise people. Instead of performing one pre-programmed movement over and over again, they're becoming much better at adapting. Cameras continuously scan their surroundings. Sensors measure movement and pressure. Artificial intelligence processes enormous amounts of information every second. Then the robot decides what to do next. It's not thinking like a human, but it's becoming far better at reacting to the world around it. And that's a massive step forward. Now you might be wondering, if these robots have become this advanced, why aren't we seeing them everywhere? The answer is simple, because technology doesn't spread overnight. Think about smartphones. The first ones existed years before almost everyone owned one. Electric cars followed the same path. Artificial intelligence did too. At first, only a few people paid attention. Then suddenly, it seemed like they were everywhere. Humanoid robots may be entering that exact same phase. We're still at the beginning, but the progress over the last few years has been so fast that many experts believe the next decade could look completely different from today. And that's exactly why China's robotics industry is attracting so much attention. Because while much of the world is still debating whether these robots are real, Chinese companies are already asking a completely different question. How do we make them even better? And once you see just how many companies inside China are racing to answer that question, you'll understand why new humanoid robot videos seem to appear almost every single week. Because this isn't the work of one company anymore. It's becoming an entire industry. And that's where this story gets even bigger. So, what does all of this actually mean? Is this just another technology trend that people will forget in a few months? Or are we watching the beginning of something much bigger? To answer that question, let's look at history. There was a time when seeing a smartphone public felt unusual. Most people didn't think they needed one. Then, almost without realizing it, smartphones became part of everyday life. The same thing happened with electric cars. At first, they seemed expensive, experimental, and far from becoming mainstream. Today, they're on roads all over the world. Artificial intelligence followed a similar path. Only a few years ago, AI was something most people rarely talked about. Now, millions of people use it every single day. Every major technological revolution begins the same way. At first, people underestimate it. Then they laugh at it. Then they become curious. And finally, they wonder how they ever lived without it. Humanoid robots may be following that exact same pattern. Not because they'll replace humans overnight. They won't. There are still enormous challenges ahead. Battery life, reliability, safety, cost. And perhaps the biggest challenge of all, teaching robots to handle the unexpected. Humans are incredibly adaptable. If you drop a tool on the floor, you instinctively know how to pick it up. If someone suddenly walks in front of you, you change direction without thinking. For a robot, those situations are still surprisingly difficult. That's why engineers around the world continue improving these machines every single day. But here's what many people are starting to notice. The gap between humans and robots is shrinking much faster than most experts predicted. And that's exactly why videos from companies like UBTECH continue to surprise people. Not because the robots are perfect, but because every new generation feels noticeably closer to reality. Now imagine what that means 5 years from now. If today's robots can already walk naturally, use both hands, maintain their balance, recognize objects, and perform simple industrial tasks, what will the next generation be capable of? That's the question investors are asking. It's the question governments are asking. And it's certainly the question technology companies are asking. Because whoever leads humanoid robotics won't just sell robots. They could shape the future of manufacturing, logistics, healthcare, retail, construction, and countless other industries. That's why this race matters so much. It's no longer about building an impressive machine for a technology exhibition. It's about building a platform that could transform the global workforce. And that's one reason China has become impossible to ignore. Every month, another breakthrough, another demonstration, another robot that makes people question whether what they're watching is even real. At some point, those reactions stop being coincidences. They become a pattern. And once you start seeing that pattern, it's hard to ignore. Because this isn't one lucky company. It's an entire industry moving forward at an incredible pace. And whether you're excited by that, concerned about it, or simply fascinated by it, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The future of humanoid robotics isn't some distant dream anymore. It's already stepping out of the laboratory and into the real world. But there's one final question that could determine how history remembers this moment. Will we look back and say, this was the moment robots became useful? Or, this was the moment the world realized China had quietly changed the future of robotics? The answer may already be unfolding right in front of us. So, let's go back to where this story began. A viral video appears online. A humanoid robot walks across the room. Its movements look almost human. And within minutes, the comment section fills up with the same reactions. This has to be fake. There's no way this is real. AI generated, that's CGI. Maybe that's the biggest compliment engineers could ever receive. Because when reality becomes so advanced that people mistake it for computer graphics, you know something extraordinary has happened. But here's what's even more remarkable. The real story was never about a single viral video. It wasn't even about one robot. It was about what those videos represent. Every robot you see walking naturally, every robot that picks up a box, every robot that keeps its balance after being pushed, represents years of engineering, artificial intelligence, mechanical design, and relentless testing. These aren't overnight inventions. They're the result of thousands of small breakthroughs finally coming together. And right now, China is producing many of those breakthroughs faster than almost anyone expected. That doesn't mean the race is over. Not even close. The United States is still investing heavily in robotics. Companies like Tesla and Figure AI continue pushing the technology forward. Europe is developing impressive robotics research. Japan remains one of the world's great innovators in automation. This is still a global race. But what has changed is where the world's attention is starting to shift. For decades, people automatically look towards Silicon Valley whenever they imagine the future. Today, more and more people are opening social media, watching another unbelievable humanoid robot, and discovering that it came from China. That's a change very few people predicted. And perhaps even fewer people fully understand. Because leadership in technology isn't permanent, it changes, sometimes slowly, sometimes almost overnight. History has shown us that every major technological revolution creates new leaders. The companies that adapt move forward. The ones that hesitate often spend years trying to catch up. That's exactly why the humanoid robot race has become so important. This isn't simply about building machines that can walk. It's about defining who will shape one of the next great technological industries. Will robots eventually become as common as smartphones? Nobody knows. Will every home have one? That's still a long way off. But one thing is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Humanoid robots are no longer science fiction. They're becoming real products, real machines, built by real companies, doing real work. And every month, they become a little more capable than the month before. Maybe that's why the internet keeps calling them fake. Because our expectations haven't caught up with reality. We're still imagining the future as something that's decades away, while pieces of that future are already being built today. So the next time you see one of those unbelievable robot videos, don't ask yourself whether it's CGI. Ask yourself something much more interesting. If robots already look this human today, what will they look like 5 years from now? Because if the pace of innovation continues, the videos that seem impossible today may look completely ordinary tomorrow. And that might be the biggest surprise of all. The future didn't arrive with flashing lights. It didn't announce itself with one dramatic moment. It arrived one viral video at a time. And while millions of people were arguing in the comments about whether those videos were real, the technology kept improving anyway. That's why this story matters. Not because robots have replaced humans. They haven't. Not because the future is fully here. It isn't. But because we're witnessing something rare. The moment when science fiction slowly becomes reality. And by the time everyone finally believes what they're seeing, the technology may have already taken its next giant leap forward. So maybe the biggest question isn't whether these robots are real anymore. Maybe the real question is, are we ready for what comes next? Because whether you're excited, skeptical, or somewhere in between, one thing is certain. The world is entering a new era of robotics, and China has made it very clear it intends to be one of the countries leading the way. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into the biggest breakthroughs shaping the future of technology, make sure you subscribe to Byte Dynasty, because the next breakthrough might already be happening, and we'll be here to explain it.